And I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's joined us today for this momentous occasion with the book launch. This is my first book, as I'm sure you're aware, so I'm really proud to have this opportunity to share the story of why I wrote Beyond Digital Transformation with you. It's taken over a year to write this, with most of it happening during the COVID pandemic. So at the same time, I was also moving jobs to a different company, and a lot of things were going on at the same time. Before I go into any details about this book, I'd like to start by first thanking Steve and his team at Technics Publication for guiding me through what was a really steep learning curve, but a great experience in writing this book. And I'd share that I didn't really appreciate the effort and teamwork it takes to write a book of this nature, but it's been a very exciting one, and it makes me so proud to have experienced that. So I'm going to start first by just a quick introduction about myself for some of you who don't know me. So my background is engineering, and I've worked in engineering as part of my career for over 2 decades. Got degrees in both at Southampton University and Brunel University, with a Bachelor of Engineering degree and a master's. And roll forward to today, I'm currently Vice President of Engineering for a company called Depop, where my role involves heading up the engineering function. I have had a career journey that's taken me through numerous roles, industries, organizations of different sizes, from startups to scale-ups to global enterprise corporations, and then gradually moving into engineering leadership roles. And this particular experience in technology, involving engagement in several organizations and my capacity through different positions, really opened my eyes to how successful businesses do operate, and led me to share some of the sound practices and learnings in this book here. I'm going to now talk a bit about the book, but feel free at any point to jump in, to ask questions or to add commentary, or equally, if you're comfortable waiting till the Q&A session at the end, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. And just a reminder that there is a competition, and I'll share more details about that later on. So why did I write the book? The idea from the book came several years ago when I noticed, and I was aware that as I worked from one company to the next, the same types of problems, questions, and conversations kept cropping up time and again. And they typically centered around the business and how that could be more predictable in meeting the demands of their market, how they could meet revenue targets, and how they could retain and attract customers while also effectively delivering solutions based on expectations. So in addition to that, from an engineering perspective, I noticed that practices vary widely across the industry, whereas there are many similar problems that have already been solved and are tried and tested in other industries. So in my mind, I kind of asked the question, why are we reinventing the wheel when there are solutions already out there? And in the roles that I've taken in the past, they became very transformative in nature within the business, in aligning teams and helping them become more successful through proven methods. The other thing I want to call out is the role of engineers and the value they derive, and their impact within a business is often underestimated or misrepresented. So you might hear of engineers being called just coders, or, geeky individuals. So that perception needed to be corrected. And I talk about that in my book, to express more correctly how we should think differently about the profile of engineers and the bigger role they can play within the wider business. And then in order to understand where we are and what the future might represent, I take the reader through a journey in time and bring the context back to today's modern world, and finally share some of the thoughts around the future of technology and what the industry might look like. So my hope is to share several well-trodden patterns and practices with businesses and individuals so that they can understand how you can establish a culture to help businesses to become more higher achieving. And then about the book itself, as I mentioned, it's really looking at past lessons through the various industrial revolutions to demonstrate crucial lessons and solutions which are applicable today. I chose the manufacturing industry actually because this is an industry that closely matches how technology organizations tend to operate. And there, along with that, there are other mature industries such as finance, civil engineering, where you can take lessons and they're as applicable to the technology industry. And then I talk about digital transformation, which is really the integration of digital technology into all areas of business, fundamentally changing how teams operate and deliver value to customers. And there's some important messages about catering to the customer for the benefit of retention and loyalty, how to bring a customer into the room through adopting the cultural and operational mindsets within the business. This also requires changes within the organizations, and I cover that in the book and share best practices on how to create impact faster and more consistently. So it talks a lot about effecting change within a business as well. Innovation is a key area as well. So this is covered in the book to look at how you can drive further revenue growth and open up market opportunities, particularly with diversity in mind. And there's actually data out there that demonstrates how diversity drives innovation, customer acquisition, and revenue growth. And then finally, the last point I want to talk about is where we take a look at the next stage of the technological industrial revolution and what that might look like from a global level so that businesses can start to prepare for growth in those areas. So those are the key points around the book. Who can benefit? I would say that there are three key facets to this, or audiences, certainly business leaders, practitioners, and the organization as a whole in different ways. So I would say for business leaders in particular in the technology space, they can get a better understanding of how they can accelerate areas of the business. And technology is an enabler. And I sense that that's less understood in terms of how technology and engineering work and operate within many organizations. So this is an area I've seen businesses struggle to get a grasp of. Other than engineers writing code, the concept of a value-driven approach and the significant contribution that engineers and product teams make are far less understood than, say, sales, marketing, and finance teams. So the book tries to demystify some of those areas for business leaders. And for practitioners, it's really about they might have an operational role in the business in driving digital transformation. So looking, for example, at coaches, project or product managers, they can find inspiration in the book in areas related to how they align people and teams around building solid products with their customer in mind, and also to understand what business maturity and agility is. So where an organization is in terms of its maturity in order for them to drive that forward, and understanding why maturity really matters in a business is all captured. And then finally, the organization as a whole, so product teams, engineers, managers, and so on, can learn a great deal on the methods that they can adopt to improve the ways of working and to continuously outperform in their business. So those are the key aspects of the audience, the target audience. And finally, just some key takeaways from the book. A few points here, but some very valid points is more about gaining insights into lessons of the past that we can apply and to think about moving forwards, driving methods that are effective to build better products to help a business's growth ambition, and how you can shape and drive engagement with teams and align them against strategic themes and objectives. And then fundamentally, one other area I really enjoyed looking at was reducing waste. So this is a key lesson from the past. And that's really important because it's a cost to a business. And I think businesses don't gather enough data to quantify that waste to their bottom line. So in order to reduce waste means that you can increase revenue. And so I cover different elements of waste and how that can be addressed. And also extremely important is the customer retention and growth element. Retaining your customers while you continue to grow your customer base is really important to a business as they continue to build out their growth objectives. And finally, look into the future, looking at what new ways will define the way that we do business and shape our business to be successful in the future.